this is going down the nutrition route. Kids use this excuse all the time. I can't put on weight. I eat so much. Yeah. I cannot put on weight.
That's 100%. That's a great question.
Is it metabolism?
What do you say to him? What do you say to him?
Because they always say, like, oh, my metabolism is so fast.
It's all a bunch of excuses, okay? So the reality is it's called muscle hypertrophy.
Unpack that a little bit
So muscle hypertrophy, you have to put the muscle in a certain state to create a demand or a need, okay? It's all adaptation process. So to induce muscle hypertrophy, which is growing muscle, it needs two key variables, fuel, and it needs stimulus. Just like growing a plant or farmers raise crops, they need certain things. They need sun, and they need water, and they need some nutrients. So you could eat all you want, but you haven't put adequate demand on the muscles for it to need those nutrients. So you're not going to grow. Just because you drink 5 protein shakes a day does not necessarily mean you're going to gain 1 pound of muscle. The reverse. Some guy, I'm training so hard, man, I'm not putting any muscle. Bro, you're not putting any fuel on the stimulus.
Or the right fuel.
Or the right fuel. They have adequate load on the muscles, so you have to strength train. Minimals twice a week, year-round.
What?
Twice a week, year-round. With the right nutrition, you'll build muscle. 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds of muscle. I've seen it.
What type of frame?
Dude, I've seen guys put on freaking 20 to 30 pounds in 3-4 months.
Let's finish it.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LA BB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again, state your name.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms, and this is a show about people, culture, and how to create a winning lifestyle. We are getting close to Christmas Day, holidays, and what I've been noticing is that the facility has been getting a little bit thinner in a few areas. And yes, it's easy for you to say, oh, I'm going to have this family dinner, or I'm going to have this family lunch, or I'm going to celebrate this with my girlfriend. Well, I might play some video games because we're just going to do a video game holiday celebration and play another 3 hours of Fortnite. Guys, I'm here to say that, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, is that this is the perfect time to get and gain ground on your competition, because everyone is doing exactly what I just mentioned, which is, I have a holiday. I might grab a Snickers this time. I might grab a piece of pie. And that's how I want to segue this episode going into our first guest in a very long time.
It's just been me and you.
Yeah, I'm tired of staring at your eyes.
Oh, thanks, man.
So we have Brian Fitzmaurice of Fitzmaurice Performance. He's a friend of mine, one of my friends, trained with him, and we were both played at Missouri State, and we'd come back from break, and he's doing these weird exercises, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing over there? Like how he warmed up and everything. It wasn't the standard at the time. It was just completely different. He's like, oh, it's Fitz. And I was like, who the hell is this Fitz, dude? Like, that's some weird stuff. And finally I got introduced to him when I got out of baseball, kind of kicking myself a little bit because Lucas mentioned, hey, you need to come train with Fitz. And I just didn't do it. I don't know why. But I'm glad to have you here. Give us a little bit of background on your story, your origin story, and how you got into performance training, and we're just going to dive in from there.
First of all, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Training and rehab has always been part of my life. Kind of from a upbringing, my father was a sports chiropractor. So my exposure to high-level athletes, at a young age, is part of my life. So my father treated a lot of high-level pitchers and hockey players, Olympians, stuff like that. So I always saw that. That was always kind of a norm. I saw that at elite level all the time as far as the rehab aspect being raised by my father. So as I was growing up, I'm like, man, I think I want to be like him. I want to become a chiropractor. I want to help athletes like that, come back from injury and stuff like that. But it was my own personal endeavors, playing sports and training and preparing for college sports, that really kind of sparked my interest in training. So it was kind of a crossroads, when I was at college, deciding which path I want to take. Do I want to basically rehab, or basically make I think break or rehab the athlete. So I chose the route to want to break the athlete. Now I say that I say build, right? Build is a term we use. Yes. But that was kind of a decision I make with that. So I pursued my education in exercise science, and then became a strength conditioning certified strength conditioning specialist through the National Strength Conditioning Association, which is the standard of gold internationally. And then, my brother and I started our company when I was 23 years old. In the beginning, as far as working with athletes, I was pretty intense, to say the least. So baseball was not my forte to begin with as far as my training. Okay, I would probably scare most baseball players away. So it was primarily elite football players, preparing for D1 college or for NFL. So, and then kind of get into fighters and high-level MMA fighters like that. And then it kind of evolved from there to really all sports, boys and girls. So that was kind of the roots of my origins of training. It's my life. It's my passion. It's what I do. It's what I love. So that's pretty much the start in a nutshell.
And this main thesis of this episode is I want to understand strength training. I don't think a lot of people understand it. I know I didn't when going through high school. Sure. And obviously with Missouri State, you get a little bit more introduced. I was literally creating workouts on my own, and probably that wasn't the best idea.
Right.
Because we talk about it all the time. Where
100%.
You go to Club Fitness, which is a local gym here,
right?
And then you go to a Gold's Gym that used to be here, and then these dudes are just like putting up this weight, and you're like, holy cow!
Right.
But they're not athletic.
I knew how to do curls.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Yeah. Well, they're flexing in the.
Hey, it's them show me muscles, the pecs and the biceps. Real good for pitching. Good pitchers. It's real good for baseball.
Well, I saw one of our players at Club Fitness, and I was like, all right, just make sure that you're not paying attention to those guys that are just literally on the bench and on the
whatever
spot,
you're doing, just make sure you do the opposite muscles also. Okay. So when you walk into your shoulder care program, a little bit off balance here.
And I want to provide some guidance and some knowledge, and also, with the parents, like navigation, like. It's hard for the parents because they're not experiencing you.
Sure.
They're literally, they drop little Johnny off or Sarah off, and then they're like, all right, have fun, and then they think it's just like camp, right?
100% right.
But you have some parents that come into the workout room. I know my cousin came in and saw Jake working out with you.
Right.
So there's a little bit of disconnect, right? So
sure.
I want to kind of relieve that disconnect a little
100%. Well, I'll kind of back out. I like to look at things through a macro versus, and micro, your philosophy and approach. But kind of backing out, I look at player development, not just strength conditioning. So I'm more into the big picture about where the player is going. Okay, whether it doesn't matter what the athlete's goals are. So from start to finish, what's your long-term vision? So kind of backing out, same thing you guys do as far as player development, looking at the big picture of everything that is required for them to become their best as an athlete. Okay, so strength and conditioning is one variable within the whole player development model. So, my role is really, primary role is educating people, educating players, educating coaches, educating parents on what's required to become your best as an athlete. Okay, of course, within baseball, we'll talk more specifics later in the show, but they have to understand that there's a lot of different things that go into that. So, but from a micro standpoint, as far as strength and conditioning, that's how you change your body. That's how you really upgrade your body, as far as your increasing muscle mass. As far as increasing your strength, your power, your mobility, your stability, your speed, your quickness. Those are all performance qualities that you can improve through strength conditioning. So I would say this, the biggest missing link for most athletes is a proper professional strength conditioning program. A lot of young athletes kind of just are hit and miss, or they're not consistent, they're not committed, or they're not following the right program, or they're following the right professional. So it becomes an issue. But I'll say this, something's better than nothing. If you're doing something, at least you have an intent to get better, right? So I would say the enemy is not knowing, that you need to do something, right?
Yeah. I mean, you only know what you know, right?
Right.
Now, is it age specific? So that's probably the biggest question. Where
When do you start?
Yeah, when do you start? Because I mean, I don't want to send my 12-year-old and be like, he's seeing these dudes at the Gold's Gym or Club Fitness like just laying up this weight. Like, my 12-year-old's not doing that.
My 12, exactly. You know, it's all, you know, from a young age, it's motor skill development. So just like with little kids, you teach them how to pick up a ball and throw it, or how to swing a bat. You see little kids swinging a bat at a young age, right? So these are basic little motor skill, fundamentals that they can work on. So that's really at a young age. It's about movement proficiency. It's like reading and writing, their proficiencies. Okay, so same thing with I always equate it to athletic development to academic development. So it's a process. So you have to develop a solid foundation proficiency in certain areas. So the Russians used to call it sport mastery. So they had basic methodics that they kind of built upon that you had to master at a young age. And you don't move on to the next level until you master these basic methodics. So, for us in our industry, we focus on basic fundamentals on movement pattern proficiency. Okay, so whether that's on the speed, agility side, or whether it's on the strength side. So teaching them basic movement patterns that they're going to be using as they get older, okay, and the more advanced strength training, but they have to master it at a young age before they can progress, okay? So there's something called, there's biological age and there's training age, okay? So just because a player comes in and he's, 16 years old, his training age for us may be 0. He's a baby. He's just starting out. He's like a toddler crawling on the ground, okay? Where I've had kids that start when they're 12 years old, their training age is 3 or 4. They started with trainers at 8 learning how to squat and run properly.
Does that mean, would you say that most of them are playing other sports, which is causing them to be, their training age is a little bit older?
No, it's about your training age is how much time you've actually spent with strength and conditioning. How much time have you worked on your biomechanics of running? How much have you worked on your mechanics of squatting? Doing basic stuff that we work on as far as strength and conditioning coaches that are going to elevate your performance within your strength and speed.
So if you have like a kid that is in everything, so gymnastics, soccer, baseball, basketball, would that really affect that training age? Or are you still saying,
no,
they're still at 0?
It is still at 0. Let's say a kid, so in the 1960s and 70s, we call them natural athletes. Mm-hmm. I would say every athlete that we train is engineered. Built.
Can we go a little bit deeper into that?
Because
literally, it's a hook, and I'm going to take it.
So in the 60s and 70s, we had natural athletes where everyone just played different sports. It's like throwing a bunch of mud at the wall and see what stuck, right? So that was cross training in the 1960s and 70s and 80s, right? And then right now with sports science, we don't leave anything to chance. We know how to manipulate every single variable from a young age, especially when it comes to sports skill or skill acquisition or skill mastery and strength conditioning, whatever it is, you can manipulate certain variables to predict a specific outcome, okay? So I've worked with kids starting at 12 years old and brought them through G1, whatever, and beyond. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't by chance. That was specifically planned based on specific, 3, 6, 12-month planning periods to say this is what we're going to do, each of these, and they follow that path, and it's a predictable outcome from a scientific standpoint.
So what do you say about the person like has nostalgia and be like, oh, the good old days where we just played sports and played outside, and that's how you get to the show?
The good old days are over. And I've had
just straight up like
over, done.
done.
So I say that about some of the older guys I know. Well, when I played baseball, I'm like, bro, you weighed $150, okay? Guys are weighing 200 plus pounds now and are stronger, faster, everything else.
Well, and you're seeing it in the big show. I mean,
you see it everywhere.
You see it trickle down.
You're seeing you're seeing a hundo in almost every bullpen.
It's not uncommon for high school kids to be throwing 92, 94 and hitting 400-foot jacks on a regularity. It's not uncommon anymore.
I saw a tweet the other day where it was a college coach and he was talking to a high school coach. And the high school coach is like, yeah, he's probably going to be Division I. He's lefty throwing 83.
Like,
and the college coach is like,
bro.
Those days are gone. Those days are gone. If you're, it's not. It used to be one of those things where, if you hit 80, you got a shot.
No.
Now it's you got to hit at least 90.
No, and you guys see it. It comes from the college coaches. It comes from the scouts and everybody else going, this is what we're looking for. whoa, really? Or the college coach says, yeah, he needs to put on 30 pounds, but then it doesn't tell him how. You need to come back next season 30 pounds heavier.
Well, when you say 30 pounds, and the kid's like, "Oh, I'll just eat everything."
Yeah, I'm like, no, bro. We're not building pizza. And
Which I want to go. I want to go down that route with nutrition. I don't want to do it right now.
Yeah, we'll take it in a little bit.
But that's a big concept right now. Where I gained 30 pounds, and like guy comes in, and I'm like, that's probably not a good 30.
Right. 100%. You got to do it the right way. We could talk about it a little bit, but there's a whole science behind that.
With the age specific, we talk about the training age and everything like that. Does it matter? Like, oh, it's a 12-year-old, and you probably answered this a little bit, but I want to go a little bit deeper.
The biggest myth I'll say with parents is, number one, from a young age, it's about movement skills. Period. So Mrs. Smith will come in. I've been waiting until he's 15 years old because I don't want to stunt his growth, ma'am. When your 12-year-old starts training with us, we're not putting a bar on his back and putting weights on his.
You're not slinging weights,
yeah. We're not doing hanklings.
Lady, let's take us here. Hey, Johnny, get in that squat rack.
We're maxing out today.
Get in that hex bar.
The doctor said it's bad for his back. Do it anyways. So that's when I talk about education. I get a lot of that. Well, we've been waiting until they're 16 to start strength training. I'm like, well, actually, it's too late because everyone's passed them up. So a lot of it is pushing back on myths and misconceptions, and we base everything on science and proven. This is research and proven stuff. This is not just our industry. We look at the American Pediatric Association and the American Medical Association and different sports medicine associations. So we scour the research and the data and back it up with that. So it's not like our recommendations aren't haphazard. So when you talk about age-specific training, just like I said, academics, you got to expose them at a young age. Okay, Johnny, this is how we run. So that way, when you're 16 years old, you know how to run to first base and not look like
a baby giraffe. Yeah.
Baby giraffe.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to look crisp, good arm, elbow drive. We're sprinting. Okay, basic stuff. So you're developing your athleticism. So as they get older, it gets more advanced. That's where people's concern with load, resistance training. So the basis of strength is load, okay? So we have to apply tension to the muscle, right? To get it to get stronger, to increase muscle strength, hypertrophy, all these different things. So that's where parents get concerned. Too much load.
Okay. Go load. Explain that a little bit more.
So
more of like layman's terms.
That's where people have this idea like Johnny's going to come in and we're going to make him do a deadlift max out day one, like they do in the high school weight room. We're not doing that. That's very bad.
Yeah, where like the 1960s head coach comes out and like,
we're maxing out today. Well, but coach, I never deadlift before. It's okay, just don't curl your back so much. And you see that still. Okay,
yeah.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll kind of back up and say the wrong training can be really bad too. So just because you're training doesn't mean you're doing the right things.
Got it.
Okay, so load is something you only do if you can execute proper movement fundamentals. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take a squat pattern. Okay, you shouldn't be loading a squat pattern unless you could do a bodyweight squat appropriately with proper mechanics. If you have horrible form with a squat, you should not be under a bar. You should not be even holding the heavy weight.
So are you doing like kettlebells, or are you just doing body weight?
So they'll start with a progression of body weight at a young age. And then once they can show us they can move properly, then we'll load them. And then will be a progressive load. We make kids hold a dumbbell or kettlebell for years before they put a bar on their back. They're like, well, when are we gonna squat? Coach said I need to do squats and hang cleans.
So it's similar to like black belt karate. Like
you haven't showed me. You didn't pass the test. You can't go to the next level.
You're still on green belt. Sorry.
You're still, bro. You're a white belt. But I've been here 10 years. I don't know what to tell you. I grew up in martial arts. It's harsh.
So what do you? I guess.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I did. No, there's no apologies on this podcast.
Okay, I didn't want to offend anybody.
I mean, if someone gets offended, I mean, it is the truth.
You don't get a sticker for showing up,
yep,
and you don't get a sticker because you've been training for 3 years.
Well, and you know what? That is honest to God, one of the biggest things that we see in the baseball world. It's so hard because kids want it now. They want those results now. They don't understand systematic approaches. They don't understand that in order to get to B, I got to finish A. They don't get that. They just want to. They see Johnny over there doing a 300-pound squat, who's been working with you for 10 years, and they're like, "Why can't I do that?" They don't get that.
Because he lifted a 20-pound kettlebell for the first 2 years.
Right.
Well, it's probably that imagery that they have in their head, and they see everything like marketing, social media.
Sure.
They see it in their head, like, oh, I can do that.
Dude, I got to become Aaron Judge now.
Yeah.
Today.
Well, that's like me when I look at Major League Baseball and the guy's throwing a hundo, and I'm like, yeah, I could do that. Like, I could totally get in that box. Like, I was good. And then we literally did a machine pitch tournament, and I literally couldn't hit it because I've been out for so long. It's just like, wow, my eyes are real bad.
Yeah, that's bad. That's really bad. That's really bad. That's
Where's my cane at?
Oh, man.
Well, this is what's really interesting about it is the form side of things. I might be getting a little bit ahead, but at what point do you let them fail a little bit on the form?
100%. They fail all the time. And I've had coaches that watch some of our team training or some of our training go, oh my gosh, when are you going to stop them? I go, Coach, I know their form is horrible. Okay, just relax. Okay, if I stopped them and I micro coached them every time they showed improper form, we would no progress.
Oh, they get so frustrated with you.
Okay, so I've had that conversation with many coaches. I'm like, you're overcoaching your athlete. You need to let them go. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of the top coaches across sports, some of the Brazilian soccer or Latin American soccer teams, whatever, they let their players play, do dumb things, bad decisions. Americans coach way too much.
At what point do you jump in?
If they're going to hurt themselves, one.
So if you think like, okay, the person they're fine. They might feel it a little bit, but it's not going to.
If they're going to hurt themselves,
we
stop them. Especially when it comes to strength training, we stop them. But as far as other movement patterns or speed and agility progression, stuff like that, it takes time to refine your mechanics over and over and over. Same thing with hitting and throwing. Yeah, dude, that looked terrible. Okay, but if you stop them every single time, over time they're going to slowly alter the mechanics to the point where they're going to get to where you want to be.
So if you're talking to a bunch of baseball coaches and you're saying overcoaching, right?
Overcoaching is, if you understand the fundamentals of sports psychology, is the worst thing you could do as a coach.
So what would you recommend? Just let them be.
Let them play, and then you come back and you do an overview of what you've seen. And you may not even pick out a specific player. You say, this is what I'm seeing.
So it's almost like a recap.
It's a recap. Here's what we did good today. Here's what we did bad. That's my philosophy.
And I think it's kind of like you got to let them come to you a little bit too. They have to fail and then be able to come to you and be like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And then you've got them bought in, right? If you're just sitting there from day one, just tearing them down saying, that's bad. You got to do this. You got to do this. They're going to become dependent upon you for everything. And that's not what you want.
And they're constantly looking at you, constantly looking at you.
And then two, you're not building that relationship. We talk about it all the time of building that coach-player relationship, or they're going to be 100% bought in on everything you say. You're not going to get that by overcoaching. You're going to get that by letting that guy kind of fail a little bit, him being like, hey, you're the authority here. You're the guy who has the information. What am I doing?
What am I doing wrong? What do I need help with?
When that happens, I've always found that athletes just, boom.
That's where it's coming from is you have knowledge, which you have the power. The players don't have the knowledge, and the person that has all the knowledge, they want to share it because they want to give, right? I think it's almost too much giving at that point.
I think we might get off course, but I love this topic because an athlete's responsibility is to listen, be coached. And I tell every one of my athletes, I go, that's not your job to think. Eventually, I want you thinking on your own, but that's let the coach you, be coachable. And I see a lot of athletes that are not listening enough. Like I tell my athletes, what did your coach say? Did you ask your coach what they thought about your performance or your skill level, what you need to improve? Did you ask your coach? No, I haven't talked to my coach. Then you don't know. You're not being honest, and you need to address that.
Do you think players should be able to ask more questions, or do you think it's not in their power to do that because they're a little intimidated by
They're
coach?
Extremely intimidated, but eventually, only the strongest survive. Right. So I encourage all my athletes, when the time is appropriate, you set a meeting with your coach. Hey, coach, can I have a few minutes of your time? Be appropriate. You be respectful of your coach's time. Have a list of questions. Coach, this is where I'm at. Can you give me an assessment of my performance, what I need to improve? And I encourage every single one of my athletes, you have to advocate for yourself and you have to ask your coach, where do you think I'm at, coach? Because the reality is most athletes think they're doing way better than they are.
Which you're teaching them leadership at that point.
Leadership. Right.
Now, are you a fan of the whole team being leaders, or do you think that there's a point that there has to be a select group of leaders on that team?
Well, years ago I had the the pleasure to meet Coach, Nick Saban, Alabama football, one of the winningest coach, of all sports. And he said of 100 guys, he's looking for 1 or 2 leaders. He says he'll have 100 guys, not one of them as a leader. So I think it's maybe, not possible to have the whole team be leaders. But at least you want 1 or 2 to become emerging leaders. And I think a lack of leadership today is becoming a problem because nobody wants to put themselves out there and risk rejection or failure or looking like a fool. In reality, that's how you get ahead in life.
Yeah, you almost have to fail a little bit as a leader and
100%.
Because it takes time. Because when you first come out, I'm like, all right, guys, let's go attack that hill, and everyone's like, I'm not attacking that hill.
Not doing that, dude.
Dude, bro, quit being the practice, warrior.
Practice warrior.
Quit being the sporto, man. Chill out, bro.
So how do you teach that leader to keep hey, you might have failed at this point where no one follows you, but you only need 1 dude. Then you need 2. Then you need 3. Or if you're girl sports, girls.
Right. Actions speak louder than words, right? So leadership can be through actions also. So you don't have to say a word. Be like, yo, we're getting after this, guys. Let's go. It could be like that. Like, yo, let's get this. It doesn't have to be like, hey, guys, let's rally together. No, bro. Nobody. You get beat up.
Hands in the middle. Here we go.
When I was growing up, you get beat up for that. Nowadays, no. It could be like, yo, let's attack this. Let's get after it.
Kind of like Anchorman when they fight the group of people.
Yeah. All right, guys. I know this is hard. It's difficult. We can all rally together. We can come back. We're only 10 points down. We got this. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just,
Conch shell, A-team, assemble.
No, just be aggressive. Like, let's attack this. Let's go. Let's get it.
Way different segue on this.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to segue this and back into where our conversation.
Yeah,
we
sorry.
complete into a huge
Get off
rabbit
on tangent.
hole.
Well, you went on to Anchorman for
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Are there different disciplines of training, strength training, or is it all the same? Is it just marketing? What's the deal? Because it feels like, oh, I got to do this new move, and obviously on Instagram we talked about this a while ago, where you have these guys that do these crazy ass moves,
right?
Where they have a kettlebell and they're standing on a Bozio ball, and they do a 360 jump and slam dunk a ball.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with the athletes today, they're always looking for the latest and greatest and this and that, and somebody this person does this person does that. Okay, where are you getting your information from? Okay, with anything, I don't care if it's skill or if it's performance, you have to look at the validity of the information you're receiving. Where does it come? What's the origin of the information? All right. So in the strength conditioning world, you have no respect unless you have an education, unless you have knowledge, unless you have experience. You're not going to get any respect. So for any athlete, I say this: you have to be very cautious where you're getting your information from. Period. So if you're just trusting anybody for your information, you're a fool.
Should you be open-minded though at all?
You're not educated enough to be open-minded.
So you have to find
a source.
Yeah.
Just like
trusted source.
Guys come to you for skill training.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your track record? Who have you trained? You have the proven track record. You play at the next level. This is what I've done. This is guys I've helped. I can help you. Okay. Oh, you're trustworthy. Okay. But especially when it comes to training,
so if your training life is at literally 0, you have to be very conscious of who
very conscious, man, because the reality is, I'm doing this workout, doing that workout. Are you? Okay, cool. You got to be very cautious of where you're getting your information from. So
I guess it goes down to fundamentals, right?
Well, yeah.
It's kind of having that taekwondo, karate type of martial arts mentality. I have to have some type of foundation.
Yeah. So
then I can get into the crazy ass shit.
Yeah, but the reality is with strength conditioning, it's like I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. My teacher was trained under Rickson Gracie. Have you heard of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu? Yep. That was the main fighting son of all the sons under Helio Gracie. Okay, so he has credibility, right? So he's from Rio de Janeiro. He's one of the best in the world. He has lineage. Okay, so I trust what he teaches me. I don't question him, right? So when it comes to sports science, when it comes to strength conditioning, there is right and there's wrong with things. Okay, so you have to look at the source. You have to make sure that who you're listening to has a degree in the field. Okay, whether it's exercise science, whether it's exercise physiology, athletic training, physical therapy, sports science. Then you have to look at their credentials. Then you have to look at their experience. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So do they have a track record or not? That's the biggest thing is.
Well, I guess it's hard for the consumer because That's a lot of research.
So to your point, marketing. Some trainers are what do they say? Instagram trainers. They call them Instagram trainers.
Yeah.
Like I have 250,000 followers. Well, I don't. I have 2,000 followers. Maybe half of them are fake. I don't know. Yeah. Like, so just because they're great marketers doesn't mean they could train their way out of a paper bag.
It's almost like they're really good at marketing, but they're not good at training, possibly.
100%. I'm a terrible marketer. I do our best, but the reality is I'm a much better trainer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me take this a step further, because you see this in our sport, and I'm sure it's the same thing in the strength world. Let's say you got a guy who maybe has a little track record to him. Yeah. He's been doing it for a little bit. You see, if I was a player, I would pay a lot of attention about how he coaches all of us athletes.
100%.
Is he coaching everybody the same? Because you see that all the time in baseball and softball. You got guys who are going to teach the same swing to everyone. You're going to teach the same throwing motion to everyone. You got your core philosophies. You're never going to bend from it, and you're just going to train the same way.
Right.
And I'm sure it's the same thing in strength training, where you just have, this is what you're going to do. I don't care if your name's Joey or John. It doesn't matter. You're going to do the same thing. Well, that's wrong, and at least in my opinion. I train everybody differently.
Sure.
Everybody has different bodies. They have different backgrounds. They have different strengths.
Right.
Well, even just how they process
they all
things.
learn differently, right? So
100%.
So I would pay a ton of attention to how, Brian is teaching everybody. Is he teaching John over there exactly how he's teaching me, or is he paying attention to his inefficiencies and his movement patterns and how he listens?
100%.
And
you're digging deep now, because the reality is there's in our industry there's training and there's coaching. Okay. Training is sets, reps, methodology, stuff like that. Then there's coaching, okay? So it's kind of a joke in our industry that someone can have a PhD in sports science but can't train their way out of a paper bag because they can't communicate. There's no buy-in. Athletes don't listen to them because they look like little nerds.
Or you're dealing with the selling side of things.
Or whatever it is. There's no validity behind that. So there has to be, you have to be a good trainer, meaning you could write programs, sets, reps, methodology, load, frequency, whatever it is, to manipulate it scientifically. But then a coach communicates. A coach gets buy-in. A coach motivates. A coach inspires. So that's something we take great pride in. It's not just the training side. It's actually putting the fire into athletes and seeing, hey, if you do this, you could get really, really good. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the motivational aspect with athletes today, a good coach is going to lay out a vision for an athlete, okay, and say, this is where you're at. If you come in and do this throwing program, you come in and do, hitting lessons, man, you keep pushing at it, this is the course you're on. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing this strength conditioning program, this is where you can be. Last year you weighed $150, now you're weighing 185, you're throwing harder, you're hitting harder, whatever it is. Hey, if you continue this path, this is where you could be. Let's keep pushing hard. So that's not training. That's the coaching. That's the motivational aspect. That's inspiring athletes to become their best.
I guess it goes down to, you have to have the science. You have to have the art of coaching.
The art of coaching is a big deal.
And then obviously with the marketing end, that could put you in a different direction too if you're more on the marketing side. I guess each trainer's different. Right?
100%. So the reality is, athlete wants to be committed. Athlete wants to buy in. Athlete wants to do the work. Either athlete gets results. We have some athletes that come to us say, man, I've been training, man. I've been doing this, doing that. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care what you've been doing. Just tell me where you're at.
Yeah.
You're still 150 pounds. You're still slower than you need to be. You're still not throwing as hard as you want to be. It doesn't matter, because it's all in vain unless you're actually getting the results you want and you're producing the effect you want and doing the right stuff to get the right results.
And I'll tell you what, if you're an athlete, you want someone to be able to say that to you. You don't want to hear it. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to sit here and be told that, well, you're not doing what you should be doing. But if you got some guy who's just blowing smoke up your ass and continuously just saying, dude, you're awesome, you're great, you're doing all the right things, it's going to happen for you. That guy's not helping you.
That's the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
That's false.
That's
false.
Vegetables and sugar, right?
That's false hope, and it's too much. That's bubblegum motivation.
Yeah, like you got to feed your athlete a little bit of vegetables and then give them a little bit of sugar.
100%.
We can't give them all sugar. Where
no,
like, oh, you're the greatest thing.
No,
in the
you're
world.
I'm a little more old school, but I'm definitely have a new school flair as far as positivity. I'm not into negativity. I'm into honesty though. So I'm very much into positive motivation, but there has to be reality-based coaching. Like, this is where you're at. You're not where you need to be.
Well, if someone doesn't have a coach like that, I mean, I'm sure someone has a little bit of hint of that. But if there's someone out there that doesn't have that coach from a mental training aspect of things, because again, if you're on an island yourself and you're trying to get off the island,
100%,
aka Dominican Republic, but how do you believe in that mental training side? And if so, like what type of hacks, tools,
100%.
specifics?
I think it's a great question. I'll answer that in a second. Don't remind me. It's as far as an athlete, everyone can just look in the mirror like we talked about and be self-aware. Do I stack up to my competition? That's something you don't need a coach for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could ask your coach, but you could just look at yourself. Am I as fast or as strong, or am I hitting as well? Am I throwing as hard as other players, whether it's on my team, in my region, in the country? Is it yes or is it no? If it's yes, great, keep pushing. If it's no, then change your ways. And that's basic stuff. I mean, any kid can assess their own status and their performance just by comparing themselves. Okay, ultimately it's you against you as far as your progression. You want to push yourself to become your best, so you're up against your own self, how hard you can push yourself. But the reality is you have to compare yourself to other athletes. Where do I stack up? That's where most athletes stop. Well, I'm the best of my team. Well, bro, there's a whole country of players.
Well, it's a lot easier now because you have perfect game, you have PBR.
Yeah, how do you rate with that, bro?
You can search the action. Well, football's even crazier.
Yeah, because for years, but we had rivals. Are you top 50? No, then I'm out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a lot easier. Now
that's where I started. Are you top 50? Don't talk to me then. Don't come at me. It was harsh. Top 100 doesn't cut it, bro.
I'm sure that you were nailing into your football players.
I'm nice now.
How
I'm
many
reformed.
Stars you got? 4? Not good enough.
4 not good enough, bro.
Where's that fifth star? We need to see that line up there.
Yeah. Oh, you're a blue chip. Oh, wow. So I'm getting better now. I'm getting nicer. Don't worry. I'm getting better.
Mental training.
Getting back to that, man.
Back to that deal. You post some great stuff on
it starts and finishes in the mind, dude. The reality is the biggest missing link, outside, like I said, strength conditioning is outside of all this, it's all about mindset, man. You got to have the right intentions and you got to have the right mindset. Because we could give them programs to do with training or with the skill training and all this stuff. But if they don't have the right mindset, they're going to fail miserably. So the reality is you have to learn to develop your mental tools, and that's a process and it takes time. So that's something you have to develop, because the reality is, I've seen it in the baseball world. Guys don't fail because of their skill. They fail because they're mental.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that mental training hasn't taken off? It hasn't been one of those things that everyone's like jumps on, like, oh, this is the greatest new thing.
Because it's something you can't see, right? So like muscles you could see. My swing exit velo I could see, or my throwing velo I could see. I could see it. I'm throwing harder. But with mental, like, how am I getting better?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of it's invisible. Well, when you're in a high pressure situation and you're pitching and the base is loaded and you're used to break out in a sweat and you almost pass out, hyperventilate, and the coach had to pull you out, you're staying in and you're closing the game. Wow, you make progress.
Well, that's that fight or flight. Like everyone can think, oh, 7th inning, 2 outs, guy on first,
or whatever it is.
Third. I could totally, I can deliver in the clutch. But then you don't know until you
put
get
there.
to that.
So
spot.
are you making progress, or is it, hey, coach sat you on the bench? Didn't play you. How did you respond to that? Well, I used to have a freaking fit. I'd tell my mom to call the coach and whatever. Mm-hmm. Now I'm sitting still and going, wow, why did coach bench me? What do I could do differently? Maybe I should talk to coach to figure out what I'm doing wrong. That's a progress in mental training. So,
where does an athlete start there? How do you start mental training? Okay, I'm Fitz. I get it. I'm totally all in. Tomorrow, I'm starting.
100%, you got to have intentions, man. I'm big into intentions. As an athlete, you got to be intentional about everything you want to do. You got to have intentions for your skill, intentions for your body, intentions for your mind, intentions for your lifestyle. Without a desire, without intentions, there's no start. So you got to be intentional. So the first step is determining that you need help. Like, I need to get better. My mind is not sharp. I lack focus. Coach tells me I'm all over the place, I'm inconsistent, I can't focus, or I'm too soft. Coach told me I'm soft.
And they get real offended. They get real offended.
No, Coach told me, call me some bad words. I'm like, well, you read between the lines, bro.
I mean, I think that's 1 in 100. I very rarely get kids coming up to me saying, hey, I recognize that I need some mental training help. I don't see that at all.
Well, maybe it's something that you don't really mention. You just got to start working towards, and then you start finding those resources, right?
I talk to players all the time. I talk to them about, what happened in your game. So obviously there's some failure that happened. How did you work around it? How did you react to it in that situation?
When I was young, I started reading books, right? That's how I got turned on. And I grew up, my dad would make us read Zig Ziglar books and anything you believe in, believe you want to, believe in your mind and you could achieve. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, short-term goals, long-term goals, vision. You got this.
So are you that guy that goes into school and like, guys,
oh yeah,
this new thing.
100%.
We got to get goals.
All you have to do is believe it. We can achieve it. What about the work? Yeah, you got to do that too. No, but that's good stuff. But the reality is reading books, I'm a huge into this, ingesting books and books and books and books. And there's tons of great resources as far as books. From 10-Minute Toughness. That's my coach, Dr. Jason Selk. He has a lot of books out. There's My Gym. Mental Gym. Thank you. I was gonna say My Gym.
Or maybe it is My Gym. I don't know. Search
My
it.
Gym is a little kid's place, isn't it? Anyways, there's a lot of great resources. The Mental Gym. No, he don't look it up.
Have you ever read Relentless?
Yes, I
Tim
read
Grover.
it. He's a little harsh.
He's hardcore.
He's harsh. I'm a little more positive. These are closers and cleaners and just attack, kill them all. Let God sort them out. I'm not like that. I'm a little more like, yo.
No prisoners.
No.
Slice their throats.
I'm considered harsh. I'm more like attack. Yeah, it's called the Mental Gym. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyways, those are great books and stuff to read. 10-Minute Toughness by Dr. Jason Selk. Great book. That's my personal coach. And we actually have a sports psychologist on staff. Sarah Tollington, she's joined us. So we offer mental training as well. She has to plug her boot camp. She's a boot camp coming up in January. She's kind of covering.
So you actually hired her out? Like she's
on staff now.
Really?
So she's doing a more or less a mental training boot camp. So four sessions in January. Anyone could join us online. She's in San Francisco. It's on Zoom. Okay. So she's a former Fitz athlete. We trained her and her brother. Her brother played at Oklahoma State. She played at Miami. She did some rowing. So yeah, it's a good resource. So you could get a coach. She's a great resource. But there's just reading books helps. You got to be intentional, and you got to work on your game. Your game is not just your swinging and throwing. It's the big picture.
I mean, you can't really go that far if you don't have that brain of yours figured out.
It's the biggest separator out there.
100%.
Yeah, right? It's easy to go.
When you're going against dudes that are 6'7", throwing 93, 94, I could only imagine what Major League Baseball is like, where every day you go into the ballpark,
mental grind,
or even the NFL. Yeah. Think about that. A quarterback, and you have 300-pound dudes that run like very fast. I don't even know what the time is for those linemen now, but that big of a
dude, they're running 4.8 at about 330 pounds. Like they flying.
Jeez,
that's a lot of mass to move.
That's a grizzly bear.
That's a lot of mass to move. But getting back to the mental side, when we had this conversation, I said a lot of my minor league players that didn't make it out. And kind of, not to be critical of them.
Make it out, you mean like make it to the show?
Make it to the show.
Okay.
Like, why didn't they? Like, man, did they have the skill? Did they have this?
Do you hold on, before you go down that route, when they don't make it, do you feel horrible? Like,
yeah, you're on their team, right? It's like, oh, we didn't make it. Like, oh, that stinks. And some of it's, from injuries, some of it's from whatever, uncontrollables. Sometimes you just get straight cut, boom, then you have no opportunity. All doors closed. Okay, not your path anymore. Time to move on. But, I see a lot that the mind is 99.9%, because the reality is a lot of them are coming from real good universities. Right. Then they go, so they're treated like kings at the university.
You are treated like a king. It's crazy.
You're from the dorm you don't like, to the food you don't like, to everything that you should be liking.
Quick story.
Yeah.
So I got sick at Missouri State it was my senior year, 2011, fall of 2011, going into Christmas break. And I was sick as a dog. And I went to the student side of because I was like, that's the place I got to go, right?
Right.
That's where I need to go. I get through the whole thing. My trainer comes up to me and just chews me out. He's like, what the hell were you doing? You don't go to that place. We have a place for you. So you can get in there right in and right out. Next time you get sick, we're figuring this out right away.
We got you, man.
I was like, whoa.
Whoa, you're going to help me? I'm somebody. I'm special.
I felt like the president.
Yeah, like, whoa, VIP, baby.
Get all the medicine.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're not saying you're coddled, but you're taken care of. A lot of guys don't think they are, but you are, right?
For sure.
So I see that, and then you go from that to like, oh, I'm drafted, or I'm this or that, I'm playing, like, awesome, I'm the man. To you're sleeping in Motel 8, and you have a $10 food budget for the day. But the guy who's sleeping next to you, who thinks $10 is a lot of money, and you think, how am I going to eat that for one meal?
Well, and he has a cooler of chicken and rice.
He got beans and rice. He's
good
to go.
He's sending 5 of that back home.
Yeah.
So I will say this: it depends on their background and your upbringing and your mental toughness. They didn't read any books on mental toughness, where you need some mental toughness books, because for them, sleeping in a motel and eating beans and rice is like paradise, right? So like, whoa, that's hard. I'm hacking. I got to travel. I got to do all these things. So that's all mental toughness. You got to be resilient, and you got to be, willing to put yourself through that. And, getting back to the mindset, that's applicable to any level. But the reality is, when you look at the high level, it's all about mindset, because the reality is, at that level, everyone is skillful. Everyone is a master of their skill, right?
Yeah. Now we're in that obscure land where we've talked about mental training.
Yeah.
And obscure, not to us, but to general public, just the average chiropractors, massage therapists.
Sure.
Where's your opinion on those? Does it really matter?
Well,
is that even in the radar for an athlete right now? Like
100%.
We have to have that.
100%. Yeah, I'm biased, of course. I'll admit that. My dad's a chiropractor, but and I'm raised by a chiropractor, and I thought I was going to be a chiropractor. But anyways, I'm biased. But the reality is, you look at the high level athletes, they pretty much have a team, right? So chiropractor, massage therapist, physical therapist, strength coach, all this, nutritionist, those are all part of the team. So the reality is, at a low level, no, you don't understand the importance. You may debate the efficacy or the need for it, or your doctor said that chiropractors are quacks. Well, the reality is that's wrong. Okay, Olympic athletes, pro athletes, the elite athletes, they're using them. So sorry, your small brain, you're incorrect. All right. So chiropractors help joint mobility as far as segmental, mobility goes. So they call them fixations or subluxations. The reality is, when you go and manipulate the spine, or you're doing soft tissue, myofascial release, stuff like that, that helps the body move more effectively without restrictions. But a lot of the restrictions start from the spine. We spend so much time doing shotgun stuff with myofascial release, with foam rolling, and mobility drills, stuff like that. But the reality is, you could do all this till the cows come home. But if you have an issue with your spine, or something's locked up, you could foam roll till whatever, but it's not going to unlock until you go get an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? So the reality is, there's definitely need, especially some of the pitchers that have T-spine issues or that have rotational issues. If you got a couple adjustments, maybe once a month, and you got a massage every once in a while, you probably move a whole lot better. Okay, because then I just had this conversation with a athlete's parent. We call it muscle tone, and we spend so much time to reduce muscle tone. So like when
muscle tone.
So a happy muscle is relaxed. It's loose, right?
Yes.
Where we spend so much time trying to roll things out and stretch. Well, your muscle tone is, your muscles are unhappy for some reason, whether it's a strength deficit, whether it's a mobility problem, whatever it is. But the reality is, when you take time to do self-care, when you get adjustment, when you're getting soft tissue work done, it decreases tone. So it resets your muscles so it's relaxed. Does that make sense? So a happy muscle is good muscle tone. So if you were to palpate an athlete's body or a pitcher, and you go through the traps or scaps or whatever it is, and things are just fired up, like, whoa, what's going on here? It could be an overuse issue. It could be an imbalance issue, a lot of different things. But we have to decrease tone, because we know with too much tone and too much activation of specific muscle groups, to throw off mechanics. And once that's thrown off, then it leads to injury.
So if you have a lot of stress on those muscles, that's when you have an issue. That's when the massage therapist comes into play.
That's where chiropractors massage, because they're going to reduce that, kind of reset the muscles.
At what point do you know that you need that, though?
Well, most people wait till they're broke, right? My shoulder, I can't throw anymore because my shoulder hurts. Well, that's because you have a whole scapulothoracic imbalance and your whole T-spine's messed up and you have so many different issues.
That's a big mouthful.
Yeah.
So give us an idea. Where's the scap at? So someone's like, that's a lot of words.
Fitz. Your chicken wing.
No idea what that is.
Chicken wing, chicken wing, the shoulder blade, right?
Okay.
So you have your spine, right? But the spine, coplays and it works with your scapula when you're throwing, right? So you could work on your shoulder care, but if your T-spine's jacked, you're messed up.
Where in the world do you start those conversations? Because I'm sitting over here not understanding half of the words that you just said, number one. And two, I think back to my career, I was a pretty simple athlete. I think I was good because I knew how to simplify things. Okay, I got the ball. I knew I had to throw a strike. How do I get it to move? It was easy for me to do that. But if you would have came in and said, well, dude, listen, your posture is all jacked up, and here's why, and this is why your range of motion is lacking, and now that's going to lead to this type of. How do you approach that? Do you peel it back one, onion?
I think for some athletes like you that are perfectly fine, you don't have that conversation. Like, yo,
I mean, I wasn't. I tore my elbow.
Okay, so. I'm like, that's why you tore your elbow. So to blame like that, if you had increased mobility, you work on your T-spine and your mobility, you'd be fine. So yeah, it's
like that. You just put. What I'm trying to say is like you went on to you just talked on like a doctorate level degree of that type of information.
It's all about awareness, guys, right? Like I said, in the start of the show, it's about education and awareness. So an athlete comes in, let's say you're a high level pitcher.
Sure.
And you're throwing 95, you never had an injury, you're not going to listen to me.
Right.
Your egoed out.
Fitz, I throw 95, bro.
I don't need any of this T-spine stuff.
T-spine, that's for him, not for me, bro. So that's an issue. So sometimes you're not going to have your ears open until you have Tommy Johns.
Sure.
And then you come to me after Tommy Johns, they go, oh, now you want to listen. Okay. Since you're listening,
Trials
here's what you need to do.
Now let's go. Yeah.
So sometimes it takes an awakening, right, to be conscious, right? So sometimes athletes have to be hurt before they call it the gift of injury. They call it the gift of injury because they have to get hurt to actually become smart.
How much time do you spend on just because you talked about the entire process? Like you start young, you talk about movement patterns, et cetera. How much time do you spend with athletes on literally trying to educate them as to the why? Why are we doing this? Why are we foam rolling? Why are we doing
100%.
these T-spine exercises? Why?
I'll be honest. I didn't know what that was until I got into college. Like why I did it.
Yeah.
It's a great question. We honestly, sometimes we do a good job. Sometimes we do a horrible job because we get busy and we just say, yo, we're doing this prehab, we're this prep, this activation, this mobility drill. We're doing this, we're doing that. It all has a reason. Go do it.
Well, even just those words when you just announce that, we're doing prehab.
Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing, so we're
reactivation.
We're doing all these different things. It's for a reason. Just trust me.
Right.
It takes, I think, a level, like I said, of consciousness as the athlete gets more advanced. Then they go, oh, wow, I saw, so-and-so doing this. Yeah, you're doing the same drill. This is why. You know what I'm saying?
Awareness starts opening up.
So it's until, like you said, like same thing with you guys. You're doing these drills.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't put it together until I went to throw and I figured out why we're doing it. Aha moment.
Yeah,
right?
because that's like we have all these.
Everyone goes through that though.
Oh,
that's the thing. Everyone goes through that. Like, oh, now I get it.
So I think to answer your question, it's more of it's like feeding a baby. It's a little bit at a time, I think, because I used to be like, yo, I'm gonna explain everything, and they're like, I learned they don't care.
All right.
Like, please don't just tell me what to do, coach.
Exactly.
What's that? It's that language.
You're scaring me.
The lingo is totally
honestly,
different.
and I say this, I use my brain maybe 1% of the day. Like intense, educating. Well, you know what I'm saying? Because the reality is, it's more like, yo, this is what we're doing.
It's a lot of energy.
Do because the reality is, only certain athletes want to really know why they're doing it. And to your point, the why is very important. And I would say this, you should know exactly what your why is, but why you're doing different things. Because the reality is, I'll have parents come in and say, well, Johnny's so busy. He wants to train, but he's doing this, doing that, doing this, doing this. I go, why? Why are they doing all that? Well, are they throwing harder? Are they hitting hard? Are they hitting better? Are they bigger or stronger, faster? Well, no, but he's busy. I'm like,
okay,
next.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the answer to that? Like if they keep on, do you think the word busy is the excuse word?
The excuse word. And I go, ma'am, my job is to educate. I'm going to offend you right now and say that's a big fat excuse. So your job is to be the mom. My job is to be the coach. So people that pay me for my knowledge. Okay. So, and I've been bluntly honest that you're not on the right track. Okay, you can't be in control of your son's care. Your husband can't be in control of your son's care because you don't have the knowledge. Okay, unless they went to school and got a degree in sports medicine or exercise science or whatever, then they come back and we have an open discussion. Okay, but we train doctors' kids, coaches' kids, with everything else. Okay, so it comes back. Let's be realistic. You got to listen to the honest truth of what your son has to do. You're just busy in your own world. You know what I'm saying? And
it's time management. That's what
time management.
That's what it really
but
is.
you're not being honest with yourself. Just because your son's busy, he's so busy, I don't know how he's going to work out twice a week. Then someone else will figure it out. It's not my job to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm here to provide a service. I'm trying.
Timmy's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Timmy's going to kick Johnny's butt next weekend. So I don't know what to tell you, ma'am.
It's like MMA, get in the cage.
I'm like, well, he's so busy. I'm like,
rumble down. Like
I go, ma'am, I'm just telling you what is required. My job is to tell you.
I mean, and then I guess that comes down to it ends up getting paid when they get onto the field and Johnny is outperforming.
Yeah, or he's getting. Oh wow, he's winning, or he's.
And then it goes back to and then if they don't make it, they say, oh, the coaches didn't like me.
Yeah, I'm a victim of this.
It went from busy to now coaches don't. Like me.
I'm a victim of circumstance. Coach, what happened? You dropped down a team. Well, that's because.
At what point does this is a good question? What point does genetics play a factor in this?
Dude, genetics is a big deal, okay? Because I've had natural athletes. I say this, that in the beginning of the show, that most of our athletes are engineered, okay? 99.9% of our athletes that I train are engineered, okay? Having a good genetic base does help. Is it the end-all, be-all? No, because the reality is, like we talked about, mindset is a big deal. Work ethic, commitment, discipline, all these things. So I've worked with genetic freaks across sports. Some made it to become pros, some didn't. Right, so that only is one variable within athlete development. It helps, but it's not everything. You have your freaks. Like Garrett Cole. Like Luke told me, yeah, he's not really into that strength training stuff. He said, my man. He said, and they're buddies, right? He watched his pregame routine. He said he takes like 5-pound dumbbells and goes down and goes up like he's Nordic skiing, down, and then he goes up. And then he goes down and jumps up. And he goes down and jumps up. And he does some other little shoulder things. And then he goes out and throws 102 miles an hour. So
that's probably why him and Bauer don't get along.
Yeah.
Because Bauer's like working his tail off, and then Garrett Cole's doing his Nordic skiing.
Yeah, so you're going to have freaks like that. Like they could do anything. Or like, the Cuban Missile. He does everything wrong. I spoke with the director of sports medicine for the Yankees. I'm like, what conversations do you have with these guys? He's like, it's tough, man. That's a different level, right? Yeah, genetic freaks. Because they could do everything you think is wrong as an expert, sports medicine or strength conditioning, but it works for them. So you have those anomalies, right? So, you have the Stantons that can... He's like, well, he goes, let me give you an example. Stanton likes to swing several hundred swings a day, but his back's hurting. And he's on the DL because his back's hurting. So he's like, hey, if we could just reduce your swing volume for a few weeks, So,
he's a cage rat.
Yeah, so just or the guy with the weighted ball just but the elbow's killing, the back's killing. Like, buddy, what brought you here? You have to evolve. Like my freaking elbow. But like Lou will say, just right before they go out. Just it's like, well, bro, you have to get smarter. So I'm going off tangent, but like genetics does play at certain levels, but the low-level developing athletes, I would say middle school, high school, yeah, that comes into play. But the reality is if you're working hard, if you're putting in the work and you're dedicating yourself to skill training, strength conditioning, mental training, do all these things to become your best, the reality is it's going to be a level playing field. And you're going to have the advantage if you have the genes or not, for most part.
I guess it's hard for young athletes because you don't know what those genes are going to do.
Nope, exactly.
And when someone says, "Oh, he's a natural athlete at 12 years old," I'm like, "Dude, we're not even in the first inning yet
bro,
of your
come on,
career.
dude. Right?
We don't even know what he's going to be."
Yeah. So the reality is, most people that are overly blessed with good genes lack work ethic, and I've seen it. And because of the hard part is
they're not forced to.
No, they're not, because they don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have to.
And I'm like, for most of my athletes, I would say the majority of all my athletes, I said, dude, unfortunately, you don't have those genes. I'll be honest. So you're going to have to work twice as hard. And I tell my own kids, it's harsh. Yeah, you want to be a running back. Okay. Let me tell you the probability of you being successful. I don't mean to be harsh. That means you got to work 10 times harder.
Do you think it's possible, though?
100%. Because then we'll look for examples. We'll look for examples at the next level. This is a guy who made it. This guy's going to Clemson, and he made it. He's the exact same stature as you. So looking for hope that you can get there.
Well, it's like Altuve with the Houston Astros, and
he needs some
Bregman.
electronics and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's outside the realm. Let's just imagine this is before.
I know it wasn't proven.
Let's just imagine this is 2015.
Yeah. When we respected him. Yeah.
But again, it's still the dude's 5, whatever he is, 5'4", 5'2".
Yeah, but you know how many times you've been told, right? Like, you can't make it, bro. There's no way. And I had this conversation with some of my guys. Dude, if you have the heart and desire and you have that will and the work ethic, you get wherever you want to go, period.
And that's the difference between the Venezuelans and the Dominicans versus the Americans. Complete difference.
Complete difference. Like, yo, I'm not going to fail. I will not fail. This is my way out.
I can't.
I can't fail, right?
Do you understand? Right. I'm off the island right now.
Right.
I'm not in that island. I'm not going
there.
back.
So they had that motivation, man. That's where a lot of Americans, they lack that motivation and that mindset. So, yeah.
Physical therapy.
Yeah.
We've talked about the therapist and the chiropractor.
Yeah.
Is that something that goes into the training aspect, or you just wait until you get hurt and then you start
Well,
using physical therapy?
as much as possible, the primary role within the strength conditioning program, and I really talk about the goals of a strength conditioning program, primary goal is to prevent injury. Okay, so the reason why we train is so you don't have an elbow injury. Yep. The reason why we train is so your back doesn't get hurt, so your knee doesn't, explode. So you want to, we call it tissue tolerance. So when you train and you have load and you do different things, you're increasing the tensile strength of the tissue, okay? Whether it's muscle tissue, whether it's fascia, whether it's tendons, ligaments, whatever it is. So when you prepare a tissue for high demands or high velocity motions or deceleration, you reduce injury potential. So we know that when we do certain things from a prehab, which we call a preventative rehab standpoint, and we do like shoulder care and stuff like that, but we do that all over the body. When we do that kind of stuff, it wakes up certain muscle groups to prevent injury, to make sure, number one, you have good muscle balance, but number two, that you're reducing injury of injury. That's a primary goal. So if you're seeing an increased prevalence of a bunch of guys getting hurt, you have to ask yourself, well, what the heck's going on? Well, they're not preparing themselves appropriately. So it's not a badge of honor if you have to go to the orthopedist or you have to go into physical therapy, because the reality is it happens, and I've had a lot of guys get hurt and they do everything right. It happens. It happens a lot. But the reality is, from a young athlete standpoint, you want to be doing the right things to prevent injury, especially when it comes to common throwing injuries, which we see a lot of. You're doing the right shoulder care program, you're doing the right, mobility and stability work, you're going to be able to prevent a lot of this stuff. So physical therapy is very important. Having said that, I work with a lot of guys that had Tommy Johns or had ACL and girls. It's very unfortunate. It happens. You could do everything right. And I've seen girls blow out their knees twice, ACLs. Like, well, you try to prevent a lot of this from occurring, but it happens. So having a physical therapist that you can go to or within your network or that is very beneficial. And I'll say this, as far as physical therapists go, you want to find someone that works with athletes.
Where does that categorize in this world? Because I think that's the hardest part, is people are trying to figure out, okay, what type of boxes are these people in, and how does this fit into my athlete's life?
Yeah.
Because we just talked about mental training, we talked about chiropractor, massage therapist, physical therapist, and then you're a strength and conditioning coach.
Sure.
How does this all line up?
100%. So again, kind of from a macro, like I talk about a bird's eye view. I like to zoom out, right? Zoom out and zoom in. Zoom out, we look at player development. Okay. So player development, in my opinion, consists of mindset. It consists of skill, right? Skill training, skill acquisition, skill mastery, nutrition, proper lifestyle, Are you sleeping? Or are you playing Xbox all night? Are you taking care of yourself, doing recovery work, and strength conditioning? All right. So a player's life is going to revolve around all those variables.
It's a pie chart, if you will. It's a
pie chart. It's a pie chart, right? So it's not this or that. It's hierarchy of needs, right? So lifestyle, I say, is one. Mindset and lifestyle is number one. Because the reality is, we know if you're putting all this work in, but if you're not taking care of yourself, I mean, who cares? You're not doing the right stuff. So lifestyle, I call it the kind of the optimal athletic lifestyle. What does that look like? Well, for a baseball player, you're getting your sleep, you're eating right, you have your routine. It's scripted from AM to PM and daytime, like we talk about, and you have a plan. These days I'm doing my skill training. These days I'm working out. Okay. I know I already have this blocked out. Don't tell me that you're too busy with school. Okay. I train a lot of private school kids. Don't make that excuse. Okay. Everyone, okay, has plenty of time. Okay. It's about, like you said, time management, preparing yourself, having everything organized and prepped, and blocking everything out. So, I always like to break things down is today, right? What does your routine look like? Okay, from the moment you wake up to the time you wake up, what time you went to bed, how much sleep you got, what you ate. Are you prepared? Are you packing your stuff?
Are you writing this out or putting it in your phone?
100%, man. Like I like journaling, right? So I'll keep a little binder, little journal. So the same thing is like I see kids coming in here. They got 5 bags. Okay, are your bags packed? Please don't make your mom pack your bats and your gloves and everything.
It's your accountability.
Please don't do that. Right, exactly. 100% is your accountability. So do you have your food packed? Have you thought about this stuff? So we know you got to do your skill. We work your skill. You got to eat right. You got to get your workouts in. So we got to try to boil down, like you said, the very simple things. Don't make it so, oh my gosh, there's so much. No, it's not that much, dude. Because the reality is, if you want to be, most of all our athletes want to play at the next level, right? So what is it, 5%, 3%? What is it? Including all divisions.
I think 7% of all
7 total.
baseballs.
7%, including JUCOs and everything.
Yeah.
So
7% of high school baseball players.
Yeah, if you're a high school, I think it's across the board. If you're an athlete in high school,
that's the one I've heard.
Only 7% make it.
That's very generous, right?
Yeah. That's low.
Or
let
low. Alone stick it through is stay through the whole process is 7%.
So you want to be, and I always say you want to be a 1 to 3%er, right? You want to be the best, not just 7. 7 is
well, just making it. I mean, you could make it to the squad, but sit.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, you've reached that, even if I'm going to JUCO, I got 100% paid for. It's my stepping stone to go to University of Missouri or whatever, Arkansas, whatever it is, or William Jewell. You know what I'm saying? You made it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Your hard work paid off. So what I'm saying is, if you're doing everything that everyone else is doing around you, you're probably doing the wrong thing. Because if 93% of athletes aren't doing what it takes, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're doing what they're doing, you got to question what you're doing, right?
Can I unlock like 2 questions that kind of came up in my head here real quick? One thing that I always hear, and this is universal, because we always talk about, this is going down the nutrition route, and kids use this excuse all the time. I can't put on weight. I eat so much. Yeah. I cannot put on weight.
That's 100%. That's a great question.
Is it metabolism?
What do you say? What do you say to them?
Because they always say like, "Oh, my metabolism is so fast."
It's all a bunch of excuses. Okay, it's all excuses. Okay, so the reality is it's called muscle hypertrophy. Okay,
unpack that a little bit, right?
So muscle hypertrophy, you have to put the muscle in a certain state to create a demand or a need. Okay, it's all adaptation process. So any change that occurs within the body physiologically, has to be based on need. Okay, so you're not putting the body against the certain variables or the needed variables to create the change. Okay, so it's all about putting the necessary variables, to get the body to change. Okay, so to induce muscle hypertrophy, which is growing muscle, okay, it needs 2 key variables. Okay, fuel, and it needs stimulus. All right, so just like growing a plant or farmers raise crops, they need certain things. They need sun, and they need water, and they need some nutrients. Same thing. Human body needs nutrients, and it needs you got to lift weights. You got to strength train. Okay, so you could eat all you want, but you haven't put adequate demand on the muscles for it to need those nutrients. So you're not going to grow. Just because you drink 5 protein shakes a day does not necessarily mean you're going to gain 1 pound of muscle. Sorry to try to.
You need those two pieces. That it's a math equation basically.
Sorry to pee on your Wheaties, but that's you can't do one and not the other. Or the reverse. Some guy, I'm training so hard, man. I'm not putting any muscle, bro. You're not putting any fuel on the stimulus.
Or the right fuel.
Or the right fuel. Okay.
What do you think? And timing goes into play with that.
Nutrient
too, right?
timing selection. I'm not going to get. I'm on my spin pads on this, but the reality is two variables, like you said. To answer the question, you have to have stimulus. You have to have adequate load on the muscles. So you have to strength train. Minimals twice a week, year round. Twice a week, year round. With the right nutrition, you'll build muscle. 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds of muscle. I've seen it. Year in, year out.
What type of frame?
Dude, I've seen guys put on freaking 20 to 30 pounds in 3-4 months.
Just by doing that simple formula.
Just doing the right things.
The simple
like,
formula.
whoa, look what happened.
Hold on, but you just said something that made me get another question. Do you actually train during season?
Oh, yeah. You do all this stuff
crazy?
year round. You do everything year round.
You can train when you're playing games?
No, but I mean, I know that we're kind of getting a little...
I'm just unlocking myths.
Yeah, no, we're
there,
getting a
man.
little sassy with it. But I do have a question on that. Is like, how do you maintain that through... Okay, I have a doubleheader. I'm going to Grand Park. I'm going to Indy.
This is a question, dude, I've gotten so many times over the years. Okay, oh my God, my volume. Okay, this is my older guys do. This is my college guys do. This is my minors do. This is my
But
pro.
I mean, like 6 hours. I'm at the field for 6 hours.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you the same thing I say. Okay, so my college guys can do it. My minor league guys can do it. My pro guys can do it, but you can't do it? You recover faster than the older guys do, but you're telling me you can't do it? Don't mistake. It's hard, okay? But just because you're, not to be insult anybody, just because you're standing in the outfield for 4 hours a day in the heat and you're tired, doesn't mean...
That's the mental barrier that we're talking about.
It doesn't mean you can't go back to the hotel and get a 30 or 40-minute strength session in.
Body weights, being creative, treadmill.
Right. To lift some freaking weights. You know what I'm saying? Please don't feed me excuses. Because the reality is, and Eric Cressy is huge about this, you know, and you've heard of the name.
I love Cressy.
If you guys don't know who Cressy is, he's one of the bigger influencers in the
He's
space.
probably the number one, strength conditioning coach in the world with baseball. Mm-hmm. Very brilliant guy, a lot of respect for him. But he's a lot more visible than I am. He said, dude, if you're traveling the whole summer and you come back to me and you're 20 pounds lighter and your velo drops, everything drops, what did we accomplish this summer? But I'm on a showcase. You ain't showcasing nothing.
What are you showcasing?
What are you showcasing? How damn skinny you are? Please don't come at me with that. Well, it was the perfect game. I'm like, bro, you only showcase the stuff you want coaches to see.
But counter argument, I got to recover.
Bro, when you're 16 years old,
because we've gotten down that tired route. Now
let's take what the lads are doing, bro.
Recover?
We'll talk about that in a second. I don't see athletes are working hard enough and putting a heavy enough demand on their body to be crying about their recovery load or what they need to do to recover. Now, I'm going to poke on baseball a little bit, okay? I'm offensive, guys.
Let's go.
I'm going to offend you guys, too, okay? Where everyone's more concerned with their recovery than they are their training, okay? I have my baseball guys that want to foam roll for 30 minutes, and they don't want to lift. Then they spend 10 minutes lifting weights. I'm like, guys, your mobility is freaking important, but we haven't done any strength training. For God's sakes!
So what? Soreness,
So
though.
yeah, but listen to me.
Soreness, like,
you know how football players recover?
They lift.
You know, University of Alabama, the number one program they're good. They're one of the top in the world. You know how they recover after a football game? No. They go straight to the weight room and they lift weights. Ooh.
the next day.
Isn't it going to make it more sore? Actually, it flushes their muscles like pitchers run to flush. We go through and activate muscles to wake up their muscles, to get their blood flowing, to activate their nervous system. All of a sudden, guess what happens? I'm not sore anymore. I feel better.
So the next day,
I'm not pushing back, bro. If you're a high level athlete and you're driving yourself and you're grinding yourself and you're out in the heat and you're training, you're doing all these things, we'll talk about your recovery program, bro. But don't come at me when you're not even working that hard.
Do athletes need a recovery phase after season?
No. How you like that?
Yeah.
Nope. I need to take 3 months off because I stood in the outfield this summer.
I threw 40 innings. I got to stop.
So from a strength and conditioning standpoint, no.
100% not. You don't stop training year round. You don't do it. If your elbow's sore, are we going to take a couple days off and throw? A couple weeks off from throwing? Yeah. We got to let the tissue heal. You know what I'm saying? But as far as strength training, will the training change? Yes. Do my high-level guys ever take more than a week off? No.
Yeah, so we're saying like, okay, if you're doing a certain program, that program is gonna switch at some point.
Your methodics and your load and your
has
volume
to.
and frequency is gonna fluctuate. Okay, based on season, based on your demands, based on your volume, based on your recovery, based on so many different variables. Okay,
Going from like lifting heavy to probably
light
lifting
maintenance work
yeah.
to band and mobility work to just more activation stuff to power. So it shifts, kind of depending on what you're working on. But from a young age, no, you don't take time off. No. Never. Once you made it, you could talk to your sports medicine staff and your strength conditioning staff and get their advice. Until then, keep working.
If someone doesn't have the funds to like get a strength coach, like literally go out and be like, all right, I'm going to hire this dude out, what do they do?
Okay, listen to me clearly. Okay, whoever's listening to this, if you can't afford it, okay, you call or text 636-391-6565, or you can message me, okay, Fitzmaurice Performance, and I'll give you a free program to follow if you truly can't afford it. If you can prove it, I'll give it to you free.
You got to prove that you can't afford it, though.
Right. If I see that you're wearing all brand new Nike stuff up in your Instagram, and you're driving a better car than me, bro, I'm not giving you nothing free.
Or they're taking a vacation with the family.
And they say, oh, here we are, Florida and Jamaica. No, don't come at me, yuppie. All right, if you truly can't afford it, okay, well, I'll give you some advice.
All right, I had one more question real quick, because this is something I see a lot with our high school guys.
Yeah.
They're always on this thing. I'm holding up a phone for the audio listeners, okay?
Yeah.
Their posture's all jacked up nonstop. Shoulders are bent in, chest is caved in, et cetera, because they're just scrolling through Instagram and TikTok nonstop 100%. All day long.
Yeah.
How do you combat that?
Dude, I think there's actually a syndrome for that. What do they call it? Not that I'm check my posture, because and I'm bad about it too. I slouch sitting. How do you combat that? Well, posture is a big deal. We sit so much, especially with online school and so many different things. Hip flexors get tight, rectus gets tight, pecs drawn, posture gets thrown off. The reality is, number one, being conscious, right? Phone use is a totally different. That could be a whole other show, because that drives me nuts. You're so distracted, and you spend way too much time. You spend a quarter of the time, working your skill or working out. You'd be in the big leagues by now. Okay, put your freaking phone down. That's one. But being conscious of amount of time that you're sitting in a certain position, sitting on the computer all day long, or at a desk all day long, or just being conscious of your posture is one. All my guys, I'm constantly on them about their posture, especially pitchers walking around just like,
Dude,
hey, bro.
Well, here
I had a pitcher this summer, Brian, that legitimately had elbow issues. He hadn't torn anything, but his shoulders were in like this, so he went to a doctor to get an MRI, and nothing was found. But the range of motion was brutal.
Yeah.
Internally, externally, he was able to go
100%.
And all of a sudden, he's wondering why his elbow's hurting.
You're like, bro, I could tell you why, because you walk like a freaking, I don't even know what. You could do all the correctives, right, and all your foam rolling and mobility work and all this stuff, but like to your point, if you're slouching all day long, you spending more time slouching on your phone, on the computer, writing with your backpack on, and that posture in that position all day long, then you want to spend 20 minutes trying to foam roll and do some T-spine mobility drills to offset 8 hours of bad posture. So from a conscious standpoint, physical therapists tell you want to have good neutral pelvis and good, scats back and down, good posture. But the reality is you don't have to be in douchebag posture, but you got it.
lack of the right word. I like it.
I dig it. Most guys know a douchebag posture. Yes. But at least you got to sit upright, for God's sakes. And if you do that consciously, you're going to be working the right muscles, where kind of get back to the muscle tone thing, that you're actually engaging the right muscles to maintain that posture. When you go to, your freaking, pitching lesson, you're probably going to feel a lot better just by sitting upright.
Mm-hmm. It's huge.
How do you manage that? how do your pro athletes manage the phone? Because they're getting hit up all the time, and they have to constantly. I mean, and that's money. That's money to them.
Yeah, I mean,
because they have to have that influence, right?
I don't know, man. It's hard. I think I'm more old school things, but I'm new school because I try to keep up all the tech stuff. But I know that if I have too much tech time, my brain's fried, and it's not good for myself. So I try to, I guess, periodize my tech program because when I get too much tech, it's not good. So I think for most athletes, you have to be conscious of your total time. Like my phone will go, oh, you've had this much screen time all week. I'm like, oh God, that's terrible. I got problems. I need a treatment plan. So look at your.
I wonder if like the person that designed that software, like,
it's like a joke.
This is gonna change the world.
Okay.
And then Apple's
terrible.
like, we shouldn't have done that.
Do we have a 12-step program? Yeah, like, dude, I got to put my phone down. So I think being conscious of your total utilization or use, I think, is one. But like, it's a different. I don't know, man. Young kids can process so much information now. My brain gets fried if I do.
Yeah.
They're like, ah! I'll say this, bro. If you actually use that brain power towards your performance and focusing, like I see focus is a huge problem, right? And you probably see it. You guys are
100%.
coaches.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, are you engaged in the game? Maybe you're sitting on the bench because you can't focus straight. And that comes from your phone. You're training your brain. Talking about mental training.
It's
you're training your brain.
It's social media.
Training your brain.
Scrolling like
training your
this.
brain.
Yeah.
Training your brain.
I don't like it. See,
House
I don't
party,
like
this,
it.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, group chat. Pop, 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 pop. I'm like, oh my gosh, bro, your brain's gonna be on fire. So I think to your point, I think if they just conscious of total use and understand your phone is the enemy. It's not helping you; it's hurting you. So you got to keep that in check.
What's the difference between, because you would classify yourself as a niche trainer?
Sure.
Like you're niched in, right?
Sure.
What's the difference between the big box guys, and you?
Yeah. So
like those Orange Theories,
Yeah.
F45.
Yeah. So getting back to knowledge base, right? Education. So formal setting, university setting. So degree versus non-degree. Certified strength conditioning specialist versus a P90X certification, right? So different education. So
because you're technically, you have the degree,
right? So exercise science, and then
you have a certification on top of
correct. So the National Strength Conditioning Association is kind of the standard of gold in the strength conditioning field. Okay, so all college and pro strength conditioning coaches have to be certified through them, right? So originally you had to have a degree in the field, but now they open up to you have to have a bachelor's degree in a related field, but not everyone has that. All right. So the reality is when you go to Orange Theory, hopefully no baseball players go to Orange Theory. I mean, if you're going to,
you're saying athletes going to Orange Theory.
Athletes going to, I'm doing CrossFit. Okay, cool, bro. That's cool. Hope you don't get hurt. Whatever. I mean, like it's kind of like hit and miss. What kind of results you're gonna get with that? But
because you're more targeted,
it's
you're
more specific.
You're niched in, right?
Yeah.
And these big boxes, they're trying to.
General fitness is different than sports performance.
Yeah,
right?
I guess
that's
where
a
we're
good
going
thing.
from.
Like if you want to cut body fat and you want to look cool,
go to Orange Theory.
Yeah, that you know what? I'm not gonna hit on that because I'd rather have people doing something and try to build muscle, try to cut body fat and do something. But as far as the functional capacity, functional improvement, and when you talk about moving properly
in game,
that's sports performance. That's a totally different field. So when you're talking about looking cool and looking cut,
so it's kind of like buying a Ford versus a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's totally different, man. So you got to kind of getting back to the source of information, where it's coming from, and just because it's popular doesn't mean it's the right thing. So you got to be a little bit conscious on that.
Can you predict college and professional athletes, like when you see them?
Man, like we talk about, I think there's trends. When a young athlete is showing certain promise, no, I don't make predictions on 12-year-olds. If they're a 13-year-old phenom or a 14-year-old phenom or even a 15-year-old phenom, I'm not gonna make a prediction. But if they're trending and they're tracking in the right direction as far as mindset, as far as work ethic goes, I think they're on the right track, right path. I've had athletes that were on the right track and all of a sudden they got derailed. So, I think a lot of times you can, like we talked about in the beginning, engineering athletes, we put them on the right track, right path, outside of them doing something conscious, like making a bad decision or just just jumping off the path. I think sometimes you can predict, where an athlete's going to go based on what track they're on. So that's the thing is you look at an athlete's trajectory. You want to put them on the right path to achieving a certain level. So,
when they start derailing, can you start seeing signs off of that?
Oh,
or is it one of those things where like one day the guy just completely derails and you're like, I didn't even see that coming.
You've seen it, guys, that check out mentally or start hanging around the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. Is it just burnt out or?
No, I think they start making bad decisions. So they're hanging on the wrong people, people that don't share their common goals that are, I don't dive too deep on that, but social peer pressures like that. And
I guess you start getting into an echo chamber that you can't get out of.
Yeah, they get sucked in that direction.
Social media starts sucking you in. Then you start hanging out with this group,
wrong dudes,
three, four people. It seems like it's everybody, but it's actually technically just a small little group. And the next thing 100%. You know,
you're out. So I think a lot of times and you guys work with a lot of athletes, you can predict if they have the right work ethic and they're doing the right things, that they're going to make it. They're going to make it at one level or another.
Sure. I think going back to your experience, you got guys who play at the highest level. You've had NFL guys, you've had MLB guys, you got dudes who train at that and play at the highest level.
Sure.
So you see similarities.
Sure.
It's like those light bulb moments where you're like, oh, dude, he's kind of doing stuff that Luke was doing at his age or whoever else,
Or you see the work ethic, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I always say
the mentality's different. You just get it.
You see it. Like the biggest thing, when athletes come near and far to come to train with us, I say, dude, yeah, we have a training system. Yeah, we have all this. We'll educate you. We'll train you. We'll do all these things. But dude, the secret is in nothing I can give you.
It's you.
It's you, man. It's a work ethic. All right. So I would say this. I put it back on them and say, you know what?
You think parenting comes into play with
100%, dude, because parents want to coddle them. They just want to buy the program. Well, dude.
And it comes back to going back to your Zig Ziglar days, where it's like once the person buys, they've been satisfied.
No, bro. I mean, dude, I said that these are your goals. You understand this is not my goals, not your dad's goals, your mom's goals, your coach's goals, anybody's goals. These are yours. Okay, so you got to put the work in. That's the magic. So I say this, dude, I've trained a long, long list of very good athletes that achieve the highest level across sports, but the magic was they bought in, the buy-in. I say they drank the Kool-Aid. They drank a lot of Kool-Aid. They bought in to do the work necessary every single day in their routine, their mindset, their skill work, strength and conditioning, nutrition, lifestyle. They put the work in every single day when they didn't feel like it. They put the work in every single day when their friends weren't doing it. When their friends were saying, dude, why you work so hard? Why don't you chill out, bro? Why don't you come hang out with us? They put the work in every single day. They sacrificed to get to where they want to be.
And that's every professional athlete you've had.
That's everybody, man. That's anybody that achieve a high level. That's what you got to do. You got to sacrifice, but you got to outwork everybody, man. So that's the key. Kind of getting back to genetics versus no genetics. The reality is, I'll take work or genetics any day of the week. I'll put money on it. I'll put all my money on the guy or girl that's going to work hard.
It's environment, genetics.
That's it, man. So, but
a little bit of luck.
Yeah, but the work, dude, blazes a trail.
It trumps everything.
Trumps everything. Oh, your door shut? Work. Boom. Right through the door. Oh, no opportunities? Boom.
Does
work.
that guy change the atmosphere of your training? When they're working out? Like
yeah, man. The
like,
reality
does it change that environment pretty quick?
Yeah, man. You've seen a guy. I mean, you know the guys who work hard. They walk into the room. They're not. They're not the
it's kind of like the alpha that comes in.
It makes everybody else step their game up.
They're not the thermometer, right? They're the thermostat.
Yeah. I like that one.
They change it. They change the temperature. They're the vibe. They're not the vibe suckers. They're the vibe providers. They bring the vibe. They bring it. Like, whoa, it is elevated.
This vibe just completely changed.
This vibe is changing.
What's the difference between a good high school guy, good college guy, and then your good professional athlete? I don't want to talk about the anomalies.
That's a great question.
Like the 1%. I don't want to talk about the guys that are Hall of Famers because that's just a different standard. When you get to that point, that's hard to do comparisons. But if we're talking about guys that are trying to be the 7% or girls that are trying to be that 7%, get to college, get it paid for.
It's the same answer, man. I don't think it's going to change. I'm not going to change my answer. What I just said, it's work ethic, because I can't put any more faith in anything outside of work ethic, because you guys know baseball more than I do, and players, profiles and how they got there. Most of them got there just because they've been through hell and back. They just work harder than everyone else, and they put up with more challenges and setbacks, and they didn't quit. They're resilient. They're mentally tough. They put the work in, day out. They were here. They went to this school. They got cut. They went to here, back to JUCO. They went here. They got drafted. They went back down. They got hurt. They were out 2 years, and they went to freaking Japan. And they're back here. They didn't quit, man. They work hard. So it's
so every hurdle they ended up.
Boom, kept moving forward. Boom, punch in the face. Oh, boom, punch in the face. Oh, boom, punch in the face. Boom. And the problem with, not to say it's our problem, because as coaches, we have to educate, we have to empower and prepare kids to be resilient. And it's coach's fault, not the kid's fault. And I always try to catch myself on that, because I say, kids nowadays. No, and I heard Deion Sanders says something like that. No, it's your fault, coach. It's not the player's fault. It's your fault. You're not preparing them right. And I said, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to make sure that my kids are tough, my kids are mentally resilient, and I'll bust their butt.
How do you prepare that? Because when someone thinks mental resilience, they think of like Hollywood film. We're going to run through the rain, and we run through the snow. We're going to be like Rocky Balboa in Russia.
No, hey, you're going to push them hard, and you're going to push them really hard, and you're going to teach them about work ethic. And you know what? There's no excuses, no backing down. You got to keep pushing forward no matter what. You want to be the best, this is what you do. So you got to push, you got to push, you got to push, you got to push, you got to push. But it's hard. Yeah, keep pushing, man. And eventually, if they've never been exposed to that, eventually they get tougher. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think they need to find their own breaking point first, their initial breaking point?
I think they have to fail, right?
Because I feel like there's a lot of breaking points that you can go through in life where you end up getting, that's my first
that's my pivot moment.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's always
because not many guys know how to, or girls know how to do that. They don't.
No, they don't, because but growth. The only growth occurs, and I wish I knew this at a young age. Growth only occurs, to your point, by failure. Mm-hmm. You don't grow when everything's going great. Oh man, I'm perfect game said I'm the number one in the country. Well, how motivated are you to want to work hard? Yeah. Well, you're not really. So you have to be like, yo, they told me if I don't start working harder, I'm not gonna make the high school team.
I would say you have more of an advantage if you're number 1,000 than you are number 1.
100%.
I would hate to be the number 1 high school athlete right now, because all those guys are trying to reach me to the mountaintop.
And I've across sports, I've trained some of those phenoms, and there's a lot that don't do well. Because, like you said, to their point, they're always held in a pedestal. They're always better than everyone else. But they lose sight of the work ethic. They lose sight of all that stuff. And then all of a sudden they go to that next level and they go, wow, everyone's just as good as me.
Then what do you do?
And they already have the work ethic, and they already have they have what it takes, and you don't. So you got to learn at a young age. It's best if you kind of get knocked, for kids that get cut, or, and I've talked to kids that get knocked down a team or whatever it is. It's like, yo, time to wake up, bro. It's time to start working harder.
And I hope that, I know we have some parents who listen to this, and some players, obviously. Sure. And I hope the one thing that they take out of that whole segment was the fact that failing is okay. It's going to happen. And it's how you react to those situations. And parents, it's after a bad game. It's not coddling. It's not saying it'll be okay. It's saying, well, listen, what did we do wrong? How are we going to fix this? Yeah, you sucked today.
100%.
How are you going to get better?
And to your point,
keep going.
I'm not to keep going off on tangents here, but to your point is let coaches coach your kids also.
Yep.
Be the parent. And I say this, post-game assessment of your play. Yep. What did coach say?
Yep.
That's all I ask. And did you give 100% effort? That's all I ask my kids. Did you give it your all? Yeah, Dad, I did. Okay, good. Leave it at that. Be the mom, be the dad. Don't be the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it there.
Leave it there.
Let it lie.
Your kid knows they sucked that game.
That's true. It is. I mean, when you
oh my God, I'm going to lessons with you. We're going to figure out a game plan. And coach, I'm going to make sure I take notes when he's doing lessons. And parents that are helicoptering at lessons, please stay home.
It's like that. You suck today. It's all right.
Yep.
Well, we'll figure it out at some point. I mean, just
got to get better.
Struck out 4 times. It's okay. You got the golden sombrero. I actually have it right here, back here.
That's the best.
Got to get better.
That's the best thing to say. Hey, you know what? The best, do that and keep pushing forward. Listen to your coach.
Yeah, for sure. I have a really long one here, which is determining the success of an athlete from 6 months, short term, 1 year, 5 years. Because a lot of these guys are getting into high school. A lot of the 14-year-olds I'm starting to get to know, they're getting into the high school program. What determines their success, like priority-wise, from these, which is diet, nutrition, strength and conditioning, character mentality, skill proficiency, and then game knowledge?
Mm-hmm. Well, number one, like I talked about, we hope they have a good foundation. They're living a healthy lifestyle. That's number one. Because I see a lot of athletes, and kind of your point when we talked about fitness versus sports performance, they're not even living a healthy and fit lifestyle. So we got to get them just, level one, like, are you eating right? Are you getting your sleep? Are you taking care of yourself? You got to be doing those things right, because the pressure is going to build, and the demands are going to get higher, right? So you hope that we talked about a little while ago is they have developed a healthy routine, but also a strategic about their weekly plan, okay, when it comes to their skill training, when it comes to the strength conditioning, when it comes to the nutrition, and they have this stuff mapped out. But the reality is they have to be meeting certain benchmarks along the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, a lot of players that train with us, a lot of them are hard gainers. They want to build muscle. They want to get bigger. They're skinny. They're bone thin. So, are you making progress or are you not? Are you running faster? Are you not? Are you throwing harder? Are you not? Are you hitting harder? Whatever. So, kind of to your point, the lifestyle needs to include all that. Like you said with the pie chart, everything's got to be included within your daily routine. And I was talking to an athlete earlier, plays for Tigers, and I talked to him about adding and subtracting. I said, okay, well, he used to be 155 pounds. Now he's 190. I said, okay, now you've done a really good job with that. You created that foundation. Okay. Now it's time to add this and subtract this. Okay. So you're going to have to transition in. Okay. So yeah, we got to pick up your mobility and your flexibility a bit. You've been neglecting that. So we got to add this, and we're going to take away this. And then you need to work on speed a little bit more. Okay. So, over time, you're going to add and subtract, but you can't constantly be adding and adding and adding and adding. So you have to look at your priorities and strategize, that and figure out what works best with your schedule.
So lifestyle is number one. You got to figure out that lifestyle.
You got to figure out, man, because guys neglect, they're more concerned about doing their shoulder care than eating a bag of Cheetos at night. I'm like, bro.
Oh, I see a player come in here, and he's training, and then he has McDonald's walking in.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, do you see anything wrong with this picture? You're not being. We call it non-congruent. You're not. What you say and what you want or what you're doing are two different things, right? So while we look at the big picture, bro, give a little bit of effort in everything. Okay. You can't be like, oh, I'm all gung ho about my mobility's doing great, but I didn't sleep at all last night. I'm like, well, bro, that doesn't. You just canceled everything out.
Wasted it. Yeah.
You just wasted everything, bro.
Yeah, you're drinking soda.
Yeah, you come in with a Red Bull. Here I am, ready to go, ready to throw some velo.
Yeah, but Red Bull's good for you.
Yeah,
gives you wings.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, come on.
It gets
man.
me jacked up to lift.
Come on, man. I'm like, bro, you gotta look at everything. You can't just look at one little thing. Like, I'm just really doing good in this.
How does someone, going back to the nutrition route, how does someone do for like out of town trips? How do you combat that?
And that's the big issue, right? That's the biggest thing when baseball players go, oh, I'm traveling. Like, bro, everyone travels. I get this, man. You got to figure it out, bro. So, like, we know that eating fried chicken strips and French fries before a game it's probably not going to be good. It's going to sit in your stomach, and you're probably feeling a puke. So
give me some restaurants.
But if you go to McDonald's, maybe you can have a chicken sandwich and a side salad and a yogurt.
So you're saying McDonald's is not.
Dude, you could go anywhere. You could go anywhere and buy something decent. You know what I'm saying? If it's pregame, if you go to Chick-fil-A, instead of having a fried sandwich and those terrific tasting French fries,
oh god, they're good.
You can have the freaking chicken nuggets they inject with butter, and have a fruit salad and a salad. If the salad doesn't stay with you, have some salad and have a yogurt. I mean, dude, make good decisions. Do the best you can. Most kids. We say this: most kids by the age of 12 years old can make good decisions. If I put a Big Mac and onion rings, or I put some baked chicken strips and some rice and whatever, which one's healthier? They probably can make a good decision. Okay, so it's about challenging yourself to do what it takes, to feel and perform your best. Nutrition's a really big neglected deal, because the reality is, you could be like, man, I just didn't feel it today. Well, why didn't you feel it?
Are there any practical examples you can give, like concrete blocks of food that they need to be paying attention to when they're traveling?
100%, man. The reality is, number one, don't eat crap. I'm pretty basic, right? Don't eat crap, right?
So like crap, like what do you mean? Like hamburgers?
Bro, if you eating donuts for breakfast and then, or you know, eating
So
donuts.
fried food's out?
High sugar, high fat, all that stuff out the door. Okay. So, you know, if you go to McDonald's and get a platter of scrambled eggs and a side of pancakes, fine. All right. You go to Subway and you get a, foot long on wheat with some turkey, some cheese, and load up some veggies, fine. Have a, fruit in a no soda, have some water, So the reality is, with your meals, the reality is, I know your playing is hard for extended periods of time. We look at eating protein, carbs, and fat every 3 hours. All right, so at least 5 to 7 meals a day. So those are going to be smaller meals at a time. But the reality is, sometimes you're going to have to pack stuff, for your snacks, protein bar, granola bars, nut mix, fruit. But if you're going to be at the fields for whatever, and you only have a short break between games or whatever it is, I don't know, you're going to have to pack your food. So you got to think ahead. So that kind of goes back to your routine. You got to think about planning, right? So you got to, like, when you talk about time management, you got to actually plan on what you're going to do. You can't be a victim. Oh my gosh, got nothing to eat, Mom. You didn't bring me anything. I'm here all day. They only has hot dogs and nachos. Well, bro, don't come at me with that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, the ballpark, all they had was Laffy Taffy, hot dogs, and Cheez-Its. Bro, come on, man.
You can hop in the car, go to the Subway, and come back.
Or maybe you should have thought about the night before.
Oh, yeah,
and maybe you should have bought something yesterday and put it in the
Put some almonds
hotel. Yeah, the hotel little refrigerator, and you should have put it in your bag. Smart one.
Almonds are pretty easy.
Almonds are easy. Bro, granola bars. You could do, fruit. Oh, but it's warm, bro.
Ice.
Suck it up, bro.
Ice.
Don't be yuppie.
If you would create an expert team for an athlete, I'm not saying like a 12-year-old needs to have this expert team. I don't want.
A lot do, which is scary.
I don't want people to go out and be like, all right, we're
got a physical therapist, got his.
Yeah, I don't want. I'm saying the guy that's starting to reach that college mentality, like college approach, professional approach. What do they need on their expert staff? And that obviously you're gonna work towards this. This is not gonna happen like in one day. Like, oh, we gotta have this person, we gotta have this person. Jimmy's gonna be totally decked out.
I'd even say, just if I can rephrase this question, let's make it more reasonable. What can like a person with decent means who really wants to achieve their goals, what can they realistically, what should they look for?
100%. Well, I know your club has a lot of resources. The reality is you have to have people you trust. That's really, really important, because I see so many athletes bounce around to this.
I'm going to this dude.
That dude, bah. Well, who do you trust, bro? Who's in your corner? Like Luke Voigt, I've been in his corner for years. I'm still in his corner. He's got all those stats, sports medicine, this, that, bah. Okay. So who checks in every single week? We check in every single week. What's going on? Okay. So you have the people you have trust. Tom Brady had the same high school coach, same coach all the way through. He checks back in. Hey, yo, how did you do this year? How do you think I did? He goes back and works with him, his skill coach. So it's like, you got to have a skill coach you trust that you can report to. Yo, this is where I'm at. This is how I did this season. This is where I want to be. Check in with your coach. Talk to him. Be blunt, honest. This is where I'm at.
The person that checks in.
You got to check in. This is where I'm at. This is, but coach, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. These are high-level conversations. This takes maturity. You come back, you work with your skill coach and say, hey, this is where I'm at. How do you think I did? What can I do differently? Okay, you got to have a skill coach. Strength conditioning, you got to have someone directing your strength conditioning program. Okay, so you got to have someone leading, guiding you. Okay, like I said, coaches are guides. We guide athletes along a path, right? So you got to have people that are putting you on the right path. Strength conditioning important. Hopefully they're giving you advice on the training side, but also, high-level nutrition stuff, we always refer to a registered dietitian. We have one on staff. But for low-level stuff, just basic education stuff, say, hey, whatever, then hopefully you get some direction with that. Say, hey, yo, how's your eating going? Are you sabotaging yourself? So that's important. And then also, if you have injuries or you have issues, you hope that you have a PT. As far as chiro goes or massage, you have a good chiro that can work with you, especially if you're high level, you're a pitcher. You probably should be getting some adjustments. You probably should be getting some massage every once in a while. My friends don't do it. Well, pros do it. So you want to perform your best and feel your best and recover fast. That's what you do. So, to your point, it kind of evolves. But a lot of this stuff, I don't think it doesn't have to cost tons of money, because if someone comes back to you and say, hey, here's how I pitched this season, this is where I'm at, and some stuff I'm dealing with, here's my stats, give me some feedback. How many players come to you and ask that?
None. Not really, almost any.
So that's my point is
and that's free information.
Yeah, it's free.
Who are you listening to?
Yep.
You're not asking your high school coach, because most of them are busy and don't care. So, use your coaches, go to them, get their feedback, because ultimately if you're spending so much time and you care so much, then you got to take the initiative. I tell every single one of my players I train, you got to take initiative. You got to go to your coach. Oh, got to go to your coach. What about, they're asking me all this recruiting, and I go, dude, have you talked to your coach? No. Okay.
Then what are we talking about?
Come on, man. Take initiative, bro. So, I think it's going to evolve over time, but the reality is you got to use the people in your life. If they're in your life and you trust them and you're not using them, then come on, man.
Obviously, if you're in St. Louis, you can train with Fitz, but someone that's outside of the national or more of a national
100%.
scale,
Yeah.
say they're West Coast, East Coast, whatever, North Dakota, how do you find that strength coach? What would you recommend?
Real easy. You could go to the National Strength and Conditioning Association. We have a list of certified CSCS
So just type
coaches.
that into Google?
Yeah, you could look for certified strength conditioning coaches throughout the country. That should pull up. Just put CSCS Nation Finder or something out. You can find it.
Yeah, Berkeley's trying to pull it up right now.
But you could find guys that are qualified. Just because you say that I'm a there used to be like a finder or something. I don't know. Anyways, so when there's guys near you, or you could do searches for sports performance coaches near me.
So it's NCSA.com?
NSCA.com. So that's the National Strength and Conditioning Association.
Okay.
So those are the ones who certify CSCS, right? Certified Strength and Conditioning Coaches. So there's a network throughout the world with that. But you want to look at someone that's degreed, that's somebody hopefully is a CSCS, and that has the experience training athletes. But you need somebody that understands the demands. Because the reality is this, they may work with, like I started out just training football players, right? So you would assume I know nothing about baseball, right?
Yeah, you're just straight football.
Okay,
yeah.
well that's not the case. They really need to understand the needs. We call them a needs analysis. So they have to have a needs assessment of what the athlete needs, right? Mm-hmm. So if a pitcher comes in, they better sure know about mobility and flexibility in baseball, mechanics, and stuff like this. Sports specific. So they better know something about that.
But they should have the knowledge on that.
They should have the knowledge, but the reality is there's some disparity as far as training methodology, and you see it in our industry. Guys that call themselves baseball guys and they're training guys like football players.
I guess when you get in a routine, you start.
So you gotta be cautious.
You gotta sharpen that sword a little bit.
So if you're doing power cleans and bench press and you're a pitcher, probably need to find a new strength coach. So you gotta just do your due diligence, do your research. Find someone that's degree certified, has experience training athletes, developing athletes. They should have a track record. Ask them who they trained. And then, and it's got to be a good fit, right? If you meet with them and you don't like them, you're probably not going to listen. Mm-hmm. So I say coachability, right? And connection is a big deal. So if someone doesn't like me, I'd be like, yo, probably it's not a good fit.
How does someone reach you? Say they do want to train. I know that there are people out there, like some people from Kansas City might want to drop over.
The reality is this. To plug our services, we do offer distance coaching. I train a lot of athletes distance. We do Zoom training. We do distance coaching. So we'll do programming as far as training program design. Email you that. We have apps we use like that for distance coaching. So we meet with people on Zoom. We do assessments, consultations. And then develop a plan as far as training, nutrition, turn them loose. We could do check-ins. We could do monthly check-ins, quarterly check-ins, whatever. So we could offer distance coaching. So the easiest way is they could call or text 636-391-6565, or they could email info@fitzmauriceperformance.com and just say, hey, yo, this is who I am. These are my goals. That's what I need help with. And the reality is, I don't care if they work with us or whoever. Just find somebody that you know and trust, or at least take initiative, man, and start doing stuff as far as training, as far as working out, as far as eating right, as far as putting in the work, because it makes a huge difference with your end game.
And Fitzmaurice is spelled Fitzmaurice. Instagram handle?
Oh, I think it's Fitz. I don't
like, I don't even know my
I'm
Instagram.
old school, bro. it's Fitz Performance.
He posts a lot, so
Yeah.
if you're wondering what the workouts actually look like,
it's good stuff.
Yeah, check it out.
a
He's
good
not.
follow,
It's
for
not
sure.
a dead account. It's account
Yeah,
that's
man.
always active,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Fitzmaurice Performance. There we go.
There
I
it
didn't
is.
even know this, bro. So yeah, we put stuff on there. That's just little clips of stuff, whatever.
Yeah, so if you want a hint of it, just go ahead and go to his Instagram. It's good stuff.
Yeah, but I'll say the take home message is just, man, you got to put the work in, man. You got to put the work in with your skill, developing your body, with the nutrition, with the mindset. We always say you have to decide how good you want to be. I want to be the best.
It's that whole Ziegler goals.
You gotta have goals. I'm being serious, man.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how good you want to be, because the reality is some guys just go through the motion. Like, well, what are you doing, bro? Well, the coach told me, dude, you're in the driver's seat of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the
It's not
driver.
me. It's not you.
Not me. It's not you. Not none of us.
Yeah.
So you're in the driver's seat, bro. So you have 24 hours in a day. Some guys take advantage of it and put the work in and have a game plan and execute every single day and put the work in. Some guys don't. They just exist. Oh, I went here, did this, that. Well, bro, how much better are you this year? I don't know. Coach told me, I don't know if he's going to make this level. But, come on. You're in the driver's seat. You know what I'm saying? Set goals, develop a plan, execute the plan every single day. That's how you get places. If you don't put the work in, someone else will, and you're going to be left behind. Sorry.
I'm gonna call that your closing pitch. What's your closing pitch, Dave?
Mine is this simple. Going back to the pie chart example is understanding all the different resources out there that can help you. You got your skill training, which is what we do. You got your mental prep, which we do, you do. Mm-hmm. You got, PT, you got Kairos, you got everything. But strength and conditioning, man, it's from all the things that we do, I think if you want to put a ton of time and investment into that, strength and conditioning by far will give you one of the biggest reward in that area. So something that if you're really serious about your game and you're really serious about making some gains and seeing the result on the field, it is by far one of the biggest separators out there for me.
We've talked a lot about this is probably one of the best conversations I've had when it comes to talking about physical therapy, talking about strength and conditioning, talking about just the various aspects of how to get yourself better. And my whole goal of this episode was to bring it down to a level to where it was in layman's terms. Because every time that I went into Missouri State, because those people are awesome. I give all of the benefit to them because they literally got me to where I wanted to be. But I had to ask a lot of questions because they're talking at a very high level standard and the lingo was just totally different. So I'm glad that we brought it down to this level because that's the only way that you're going to get better. So listen back to, if there's a part in there that you love, go back, listen to it again because we tried to break it down. If there's any confusion, let me know. Send me an email because again, this is a huge area that a lot of people aren't benefiting from. And yes, skill proficiency is huge. You gotta have that skill acquisition. But if you want to get that skill proficiency and that acquisition to be a little bit better, you have to get to a strength coach because if you think, oh man, I'm doing everything right, I'm hitting line drives or I'm throwing the ball a little bit harder, my mechanics are perfect, dude, you're missing one piece, and that's the strength and conditioning part. So that's my closing pitch. Guys, I appreciate it. Please share this episode if you found any value whatsoever. Give this episode a share to one of your closest friends. Say, hey, dude, we're getting after it tomorrow. Listen to this episode. We're gonna get into the weight room and we're gonna crush, right? Or we're gonna contact a strength coach. So share this episode. Follow Fitz. If you want any more information on him, go back, listen to that information, and he'll be able to help you out. But until next time, guys, see ya.
See ya.
Attack!
Thank you for watching or listening or both to The Closing Pitch. If you would like to get your closing pitch featured on the show, we use a podcasting app called Anchor, where you can submit your statement or question via audio. Or what you can do is comment in the comment section of this post. We also accept direct messages. Please give us the A-OK if you do send us a DM to use your statement or question on the show. Last thing, please give us a review on your platform of choice. 5-star preferably, and we value your opinion, and this allows us to reach more people. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.